Today on Let's Fish TV, you're going to be joined by my really good buddy, Ish Monroe. He's going to be on Clear Lake, California, and guys, let me tell you, this place is absolutely one of the most beautiful and best fisheries that I've ever been to in my entire life. But I couldn't think of anybody better to showcase it than Ish Monroe. Today, he's going to be frog fishing that thick stuff, big rod, big line, and he's one of the best at it. Let's Fish TV is on the air right now. Oh my gosh. Check that out.
It's time for the only program that brings you real-time fishing reports from the Southwest region every week.
Cobia and a monster.
Look at that.
That's a Tawakoni giant.
This is Let's Fish.
Welcome to Let's Fish TV. I'm your host, Andrew Upshaw, and today I have a very special episode for you. Today, you're not going to be seeing me at all. You're going to be with my good friend Ish Monroe from Clear Lake, California. You know, Clear Lake is one of the oldest lakes, perhaps the oldest in North America. It's actually located on a volcano, and he is going to be fishing for bass using a frog and super heavy vegetation. We'll also have this week's fishing report from your local region from our insider reporters. In the meantime, Ish is going to get the boat launch, get everything set up. We'll toss it back to studio for your weekend planner.
Hey everybody, the Salooner tables are predicting fair game fish activity on both days this weekend. Peak times begin at 7:21 on Saturday and 8:15 Sunday morning. The best evening action will begin around 7:46 on Saturday and 8:40 Sunday night. Depending on your local area, expect the sun to rise around 7:09 and set at 7:43. Evenings will feature a moon that's 25% visible. Stay with us, we've got fishing reports from across the area on the way. Plus, I'll return with MLF angler Cody Meyer, who stops by to answer your Ask the Pro question.
Hey folks, I'm Ish Monroe. We're out here on beautiful Clear Lake. It's North America's oldest lake. It's actually a volcano that's basically has water in it. It's an amazing fishery. You know, this afternoon we're gonna have some windy conditions, but this morning should be perfect for getting out there and catching them on a frog. So let's get at it. Oh, usually I boat flip them, but when they get that big, oh, come on, dude. This is what you get, frog fishing at Clear Lake. I mean, just big ones like that. It's one thing that I love about this place is you get a lot of big bites like that one right there. So, and this is what we came here for, is hopefully catch a bunch more like this. We're gonna get this one, we're gonna let him go, get him back in the water. The history of Clear Lake has been, you come to this lake, you better have 25 plus pounds a day to even consider just getting a check. And you need to be pushing upwards of the 30-pound mark. And you can see with fish like that in this lake, I mean, and you can catch them pretty much any way, but obviously I love catching them on a frog. And we're gonna get back at it, folks.
Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you by Holland Safes. Holland is a Texas company that offers features such as up to a 2-hour fire rating and offers a lifetime fire and burglary warranty. Check them out on their website or give them a shout to find a dealer near you. Now this week we're going to go out to Sam River and we're going to be fishing for bass, and we're going to do it by finding the grass. Start your morning, scout some hydrilla or coontail in 4 to 8 feet of water. We're looking for that grass that keeps the water temperatures cool in this Texas summer heat. We're gonna throw frogs over the top early for the first hour or so, and when that bite plays out, ease back out to the outer edges of that grass and work your spinner baits and your bladed jigs and such around those outer edges. Later in the day, maybe take a jig or a tungsten Texas rig, an ounce and a half or so, with a wacky craw on it, and punch through that grass to catch your bass. Now over next door at Toledo Bend, how about some crappie fishing? They'll be out on the deeper brush. Look anywhere from 20 to 25 feet of water for brush piles. You'll probably find the fish suspended 5 or 6 feet above that, so you'll be dropping minnows or crappie jigs down to about 16 to 20 feet. That's this week's Lone Star Lakes. Check us out on Facebook, Lone Star Lakes.
Oh, another big one. Oh, God, choked. As you can see, folks, choked. They love eating that frog. Look at this thing. It's actually coming out. I'm going to show you this. It's actually coming out his gill on the other side. That's when you know that they're really eating the frog, is when it's starting to come out the backside there. So we're going to let this one go, and I'll tell you about the structure, you know, because it can relate to all over the country, especially when there's duckweed and grass mixed in. This is what these fish. So let's get this one back in the water. So folks, you know, this is very interesting because, you know, fishing all over the country, especially with a frog, there's this thing called duckweed. It's little leafy stuff, as you can see, and it piles back into these corners and completes shade canopy. And anytime you have that shade, it's an ambush place for bass. And one of the best baits to throw over it is a frog, especially when you mix in some leafy green weeds. Not sure exactly what this is, but we have other stuff called pennywort. You know, you can mix a hydrilla in with it, but the duckweed, I love throwing a frog over this stuff. As you can see, I got my lines going through here, and you see the holes in it where the bass actually blow through the duckweed to get it. It's one of the most amazing things. So anytime you find duckweed, I'm telling you, throw that frog over there. And when you're fishing a frog, you need to fish it on braid because you are fishing heavy cover and heavy grass. And so when you set that hook, you can pull those fish out of that heavy cover. But folks, I'm telling you, love fishing that duckweed for strikes just like that one. Let's get back at it.
Let's Fish TV is proudly backed by Lake Hartwell Country. Catch the feeling. Lose, feel the difference. Mamba Boats, ride with pride. Strike King, tie one on. Fishing Specialties, makers of the premier mount assembly for live sonar.
And you don't really see him actually eat it. All of a sudden your frog just disappears. Got him. Oh, yeah. Oh, come off. That one caught me off guard. I was working it. I was kind of in a bad place on a hook set. But, I mean, he literally came through it. And I should have been ready over here, but I was over here trying to swing this way and trying to catch up to him. You know, the gear when you're fishing these frogs, 7-to-1 gear ratio reel, high speed, not super high speed. You don't want an 8-to-1 or a 9-to-1. Minimum 50-pound braid, most of the time 60-pound or 65-pound braid, 7/4 heavy action rod, extra heavy with an extra fast tip. You want a little bit of tip to have a little bit of give for those fish to come up and actually eat that bait. And so I've been slowing down and picking the cover apart a little bit more. It's gotten us a few more strikes. So now I kind of know what to key in on. Like I said, the duckweed right here, having the right rod, right reel, right line, and having the right hook set and being in that hook set position is definitely key for actually putting that same fish in the boat next time, not being on an offset to where you're swinging and getting a lot of slack in the line and not getting full contact, because I never actually got full contact, and that high-speed reel, I was almost caught up to him and almost had him in the boat. So we're gonna put some more in the boat right now. Oh, look at that one. That was one of those, what I call the suck it bite, and you don't really see him actually eat it. All of a sudden your frog just disappears. And another just good fish. He's a little skinny, but still just another big headed fish right there. We're gonna release this one and get back at it. So folks, let me tell you, you know, having the right equipment and looking for the right structure. I mean, if you see this beautiful stuff behind me, you got overhanging trees, you've got duckweed, you've got grass, you've got reeds. I mean, these are all the things that you can go out there and throw a frog on. But being equipped and ready to go is definitely going to be the key. I can't tell you how many times I've watched guys make mistakes. I can tell you that I have a tournament where I told the guy, I said, we're going to be frog fishing all day long. And actually, he was out here on Clear Lake, and he was just like, okay. And he shows up with a spinning rod with 20-pound braid. And I go, dude, that's not right. Let me get you a frog rod. He goes, no, I've got it. And so we pull up to a mat, and I catch a couple fours, and then he throws up there, and he has a giant one eat his frog. And he goes and he sets the hook, and he's winding, and you can hear his drag singing, and he never even had the fish hooked. Then he broke one off, and he actually could have ended up doing very well in the tournament if he would have landed those fish, but he wasn't geared right. So folks, let me tell you, is making sure you have yourself an extra heavy rod, 7-to-1 gear ratio reel, 65-pound braid, 50 minimum, having the right frog, the Fat Matt Daddy frog, and looking for the right structure. And when I say, when you pull up and you look at a place like this, this is definitely frog water. And that's where the biggest fish live, in the heaviest cover that's out there and available. So folks, get geared up right, find the best cover you can, go out there and go frog fishing, and I guarantee you're gonna catch more fish.
Hey friends, Captain Kevin Broussard here with this week's Let's Fish Report. I tell you what, we're talking like late summer, early fall fishing across the whole state of Louisiana. Saltwater fishing right now over by Houma, Louisiana. The redfish are doing a little transition. They're starting to show up in some of the little deeper passes and bayous that are edges of these bigger lakes. Tell you what, he's catching them on cracked crabs, live shrimp, but lots of big redfish getting caught over there. Offshore, still a few tuna getting caught. Every now and then you still hear another swordfish out of Venice and Grand Isle. Tell you what, snapper season is still open on the weekends. On the freshwater side of things, we're still very hot. Summertime pattern, late summertime pattern, bass fishing on your bigger lakes. It's early and late or at night. Fish to points, deeper water on your drop-offs, Carolina rig. If you're fishing shallow, throw a buzz bait, a spinner bait, or a frog up in some moss or grass. On the white perch side of things, they're still holding the brush piles, but then again, I talked to several guys at Toledo Bend. They said the crappie bite is slow just because it's so hot. As soon as we get a couple cool fronts, they will turn on. So live shiners, 25 to 30 foot of water right now for your white perch, but the bite is a little slower. For Old Cajun Phil, Captain Kevin Broussard here at Cajun Paradise Charters in Hackberry, Louisiana, saying happy fishing, may God bless, and see you next week. Let's fish.
Hi, this is Matt Pangrak with the Bass Talk Live podcast, and this is your Oklahoma fishing report for the week. Right now, as we begin to transition into fall in Oklahoma, is a great time to load the boat with one of Oklahoma's favorite species to catch in the late summer and early fall, and that's crappie. One of the best lakes to do that is Lake Eufaula, located in east central Oklahoma. Right now, in the Crowder area of the lake, the crappie are really piled up on brush piles in the 12 to 14 foot depth range, all the way out into 20 feet. You're going to want to use your 2D sonar to locate these brush piles. You can idle over them and you'll see they'll almost look like a Christmas tree around the brush. Very simple setup. A 16th ounce chartreuse jig head tipped with a live minnow. Drop it just above the brush and hang on. You can also use a slip cork to position that minnow just above the brush, and you can load the boat very quickly on just a couple brush piles, looking on slow tapering points in that 12 to 14 foot depth range. Hey, for more information about not just crappie fishing, but bass fishing across the country, check out the Bass Talk Live podcast every Monday through Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Central Time on the Bass Talk Live YouTube channel.
Let's Fish TV is proudly backed by Mercury, Go Boldly, Lowrance, the ultimate fishing system, Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, Alabama. Plan or book your fishing charter at orangebeach.com. Motor Guides Tour Pro with GPS anchor, powered by Passion. Glacier Outdoors since 1982.
Oh, another nice frog fish. folks, let me tell you, fishing all over the country, especially in the Southeast, I love fishing pads and the thickest cover out there. I'm going to tell you, one of my most favorite colors, having the black with the yellow head frog, it's definitely been a key for when I'm fishing first thing in the morning and late in the afternoon. And then I will switch up to an all white frog during the middle of the day, especially when the bluegill start to pop. I get into a bluegill pattern frog when I'm fishing the pads. I mean, the thick pads in the summertime, especially when it's hot outside, those bass get up underneath that shade. It's all about shade and thick cover when you're fishing a frog. I mean, you've got overhanging trees, you've got bushes, you've got docks, everything in the Southeast you can throw a frog on because the fish live shallow 12 months out of the year. And I can tell you, people go, what's the water temperature did you start throwing a frog? And I tell you, anything over 52 degrees, I feel like the fish are gonna go out there and eat a frog. And what's the hottest? There is no temperature hot. It can be 95-degree water temperature and those fish are going to eat a frog because you're fishing the thickest cover possible. So making sure you have the right color frog. I usually rig up 2, sometimes 3. I might have a popping version rigged up. If it gets a little breezy out there, then from there I will just make adjustments. I see bluegill, I'm throwing a bluegill pattern. First thing in the morning, like I said, throwing a dark color. When the sun gets up high, throwing a light color and going out there, going frog fishing, swinging the hook hard, winding them in, putting them in the boat. So folks, go out there and let's go frog fishing. Oh. Another nice frog fish. Choked it down right there on the red leafy stuff. I mean, just like the way they look, they're nice and fat. Give you a little bit something about, color wise when fishing a frog. There's a couple things that I key in on, not having, 47 different frog colors, but we'll get this one back in the water and I'll tell you about it. So folks, let me tell you about color. It's pretty simple for me. It's having a dark colored belly, early in the morning, dark colored water, late in the afternoon, and then having a light colored belly, during the middle of the day, high sun, and clean water. And for me, what that is basically shadows. You can have a black frog, a white frog, and what I also call with a bluegill pattern when the fish are on bluegill. It just seems to have something with a little bit of orange in it. But as you see today, we've got high, bright sun. And so I've been keying in on a white bellied frog, and you can see all the teeth marks in this thing. It's just what I seem to like when I'm out here fishing on these days. So cloudy days, overcast days, first thing in the morning, late in the evening, having a dark belly, a dark brown, a dark black, something in that color range. And then when you're actually fishing during the high sun, during the middle of the day, having a light colored belly like this one right here, definitely keys in a lot of fish. So folks, color is super duper important when you're out there fishing. Light colors, dark colors, depending on the conditions.
Hi everyone, Captain Taylor Burrell here, Wave Dancer Charters for this week's fishing report. Offshore fishing, snapper season is winded down, so we're trying to focus more on catching vermilion, snapper. Been doing pretty good on some mahi. We even caught some rainbow runners last week. Chasing shrimp boats, trying to find blackfin tuna, cobias, and all that good stuff. Switching back inshore. The speckled trout bite has been really, really good this past week with the light winds we've been having. We've even been going on rock groins before we've had afternoon trips, catching our limit, some pretty decent ones too. My buddy even caught a snook the other day. At the jetties, the redfish bite has been starting to pick up. It's not quite in full bull red run yet, but it's getting that way. Still a few sheephead being caught here and there, lots of big sharks, speckled trout as well. And remember guys, if you are down here in Galveston, y'all want to go fishing, give us a call. That's it for this week's fishing report. Tight lines.
Watch our latest episode or catch up on past episodes on our website at letsfishtv.com. Be sure to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter for new fishing videos every day. And download the free Waypoint TV app to get all the latest episodes every week on your phone, tablet, computer, or smart TV. Let's Fish TV is proudly backed by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Visit Mississippi. Wanderers welcome. Powerful. Total Boat Control. Balls Out. Made in the USA. Heavy duty mounts for your fish finders. Rely on. Challenge your limits.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's get right on over to your Ask the Pro question for this week. Andre would like to know, how has being a professional angler affected your life? Good question, Andre. For an answer, we asked MLF angler Cody Meyer.
All right, guys, Cody Meyer here. And the question for me is how, being a pro angler, how has that affected my life? And honestly, I would say it's affected my life really well. This has been my dream since I was 5 years old. Been very fortunate. It's provided a great living for my family. Have 2 kids. It's what I've always wanted to do. You get a lot of time off, but it's also a lot of hard work. But it's allowed me to travel the country, live my dream, see places that I never have dreamt of going, or I would never have been to. So overall, it's just it's a great thing. It's a great profession for me, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Thank you so much, Cody. If you too want some help from one of the pros, simply go to letsfishtv.com and follow that Ask the Pro link to submit a question.
Here's today's Right Stuff, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Let's talk about the gear. You have to be geared up right when you're frog fishing. First of all, I like a high-speed reel, 7-to-1 gear ratio reel, very high speed, but not super high speed. You don't want an 8-to-1, you don't want a 9-to-1. They're almost too fast, especially when you're fishing the cover that we're fishing, because you set the hook and you get 5-pound bass and 5 pounds of grass, and you have too high speed a reel, you can't turn the handle. What you don't want is too low of a gear ratio. You don't want a 5-to-1, and even a 6-3 is a little slow. And the reason for that is those fish that come up just like that one, come up and they slurp it and eat it, you have to get a turn of a handle. And a 7-to-1 gear ratio is almost 36 inches on the turn. So you're talking 3 feet a turn and a handle. Bring yourself up with minimum 50-pound braid, preferably 65-pound braid when you're out there, just so you can set the hook hard and not break those fish off. The rod that I'm using for this particular instance is a 7-foot 4-inch heavy action rod with a fast tip to it. You want to have a little bit of a tip, so when they eat that, the frog has a little give, and so they clamp down on it harder, and you get the 2 big hooks of that. But there's also a situation where I use a 7-9. If you have those big hydrilla mats like you would on the Tennessee River, or fishing pads down in Florida and Louisiana, and you need to make really long casts and horse those fish out of that heavy cover. So being geared up right, 7-3-to-1, 7-to-1 gear ratio reel, 7-foot 4, heavy action, extra heavy action with a fast tip to it for a little bit of give, 65-pound braid, minimum 50. Get yourself Fat Matt Daddy Frog and go have at it. It was just a little bit of a tough day, but we did catch some fish today. Conditions aren't always great for frog fishing. You got to have no wind at all, preferably. We got some wind picked up this afternoon, and that was just kind of the way it goes. But if you get yourself out there, have the right equipment when you show up to go frog fishing, you're going to be prepared. If you're not prepared, you show up the wrong rod, wrong reel, wrong frog, you're not going to catch them, you're not going to land them, and you're going to have a bad day out on the water. So stay tuned until next week. Andrew will be back, catching big fish as usual and having a great time, and I hope to see you guys soon.